Ready to take things to a new level? This is Level On Up with Sadia.
Welcome, Brittany and Mags. How you going?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I am just dandy. You've been up to some pretty exciting things recently, haven't you?
Yes, very much so. I just got back from America.
And what were you doing over there?
Music. I had some really cool opportunities and some meetings and stuff. So I went over there and went over there for 3 weeks, got back, and now got some great jet lag brought back with me.
And hopefully a lot of inspiration for the, next single.
So much. I'm actually already working on the next one. Right.
That's very exciting. Well, before we touch on on what you're working on, tell us about the latest single, Carefree.
Yeah, so Carefree is I call it my baby. Carefree is, I wrote it when I was kind of in a time, I'm not sure, but people make so many promises all the time, right? Like, I promise I'll be there at 10. I promise I'll put the dishes away. Like, just all these promises, they're like little promises, but nobody ever seems to keep them. It just is like people were throwing these promises around like they were nothing, it's crazy. And I always heard, oh, promises are made to be broken. And one day I was sitting there and I just kept thinking that person never did that. That person's still not here. Like, what's going on? And Carefree just came about. Like, I literally was like writing and I was like, I have the best idea, ran down to the studio, and then Carefree was born.
So you turned some negatives into a positive.
Yeah, and that was the whole thing. When I was writing it, I said, I don't want this to be another sad song. I want it to be uplifting, but I wanted to still have that story. Like, if you took away the music and you, like, the instrumentals and stuff, and you read the lyrics, you kind of be like, oh, ow, that's kind of sad. But then, put some good vibes behind it and make it into a nice upbeat song.
And you've done a brilliant job of it. Is it a sneak peek on what to expect from an upcoming EP, album?
Very much so, yes.
So what are we working on, EP or album?
Whichever kind of comes first. I'm thinking an EP first, just to kind of something that because I know I can get an EP out quicker than I can get an album. An album might take me a very long time. Writing wise, I'm very particular in what I put out. I write a whole lot of music, but one in like maybe 30 songs that I'll write will be the one that I'm picky about, and I'll be like, that can be the single, that can be the next one. So right now, working on getting the next single done. It'll probably be in between like an EP and an album. Like, it'll be more than 4 or 5 tracks, but it'll be less than 12.
It'll be very much Carefree throughout the whole situation, won't it?
Yeah, that's literally my vibe at the moment. Like, carefree, not like stressing. Like, I feel like after the last couple of years that everybody's had, it's not worth it to be so stressed out. Like, I just kind of want to take everything as it comes and live in the moment is kind of what I'm trying to do at the moment. So yeah, I think everything's kind of going to go along the carefree vibe.
That seems to be something that a lot of artists have brought up as their time, particularly in the last couple of years. How did you manage to get through it?
I am quite lucky. My partner is actually my producer. So very lucky in the sense that I had a studio at home that I could go into daily and write. Otherwise, I think I tried writing over Zoom and it wasn't necessarily working for me. I'm very big on, I like to be able to be in the room when I'm writing music and feel that vibe. Whereas where I feel like it just wasn't working Zoom wise. So I was very lucky. I kept writing the whole time. I actually got really sick during those 2 years. So I couldn't, it was actually probably the best time for it to happen because I had to stop and I had to do nothing.
Reflect.
Yeah, I had to recover. I had surgery in the middle of COVID. So I had to sit down, I had to recover, I had to take time to get healthy. And COVID was hard, but it also was really kind of good for me in the sense it made me stop and get better.
Well, you've done a brilliant job. Now, for those that are meeting you for the first time, how did you get into music?
I think I started music when I was like properly when I was like maybe 11 or 12. But I used to film myself on the cameras that were on the old computers. And I just do like me singing along. There's some YouTube videos out there. They're on a completely different account that I hope no one ever finds. Um, and they're really interesting. And then like I'd be like, Mum, please let me upload to YouTube. Please let me upload. She'd be like, no. And then I'd be like, well, what if I make this weird account name? And I do it. And so she kind of watched everything down to a T. And I just started doing all these YouTube. And one day someone found me and I was like, oh my gosh, Justin Bieber. That's how Justin Bieber became famous. And they were like, we're holding a competition, a music competition. Would you like to come? And I was like, well, of course. It ended up being in like, it was like the weirdest thing. It was like in some dodgy underground, really like almost sketchy type, but I was so happy to be there. And from then on, like it just doors kept opening from that one little competition when I was like 12 years old. And I just started doing any music camps that I could do. I knew of all these music camps that girls and all these people went to. So I'd go to them and then I'd keep kind of going. And then when I was 15, I got the opportunity to go to LA and I took it. I was like, done, thank you. And that was supposed to be a one trip thing. It wasn't supposed to be anything more than that. And I met my manager over there and ended up moving there for 4 years. I lived back and forth constantly, like I was constantly there and back and there and back. But yeah, I think I was like 12 maybe doing something.
That could have taken a very dark turn.
It really could have. My mum was actually like, no, you're not doing this competition. Like, I was approached through, I think, well, not Facebook. I think I was approached through YouTube. So mum was like, this could not even be a competition. So she made my dad was away at the time. So she like made my auntie and my uncle come along to it as well. And it's working. It was awesome. I came second. It was so much fun.
And look, here you are now.
Exactly. I've always said to my mom, like, remember when you were scared? I was like, it worked out.
Is any other family members musical?
No. My mum will try to tell you that she is. God love her. But she no, she grew up like musical, like playing instruments and stuff, but not really. I'd like to my grandfather he sang constantly and he was beautiful. He had the most beautiful voice. But no one ever really took like music seriously type of thing. I was the first one to kind of be like, I'm going to be a singer. So it's all new to my family.
Was there any backup plan or any other dream or ambition you wanted to follow other than music?
No. I was actually asked when I was 14, I went and met Carl Sanderlands and I sung for him and he goes, so what are you going to do if music doesn't work out? And I said, nothing. I'm going to make music work. And he said to me, he goes, that's the best thing ever because if you have a backup plan, you'll fall back on your backup plan always. Whereas if you make it your number one thing, you will do anything to make that work.
And you've carried that advice ever since, I'm assuming?
Well, yes and no. I got older and I realized that there is a lot of bills in life. And things cost a lot of money to live. So I nanny as well. But the family that I do nanny for is incredible. They're so lovely. And I go in kind of whenever I don't have music stuff, and music is my number one always. Music comes first, no matter what. But yeah.
The nannying gig would have its rewards, obviously. And what better audience than children? Because they'll give you an honest opinion.
They are the most honest. Like I'll be like, hey guys, like I've got this song, and they'll tell me instantly if they don't like it. And the way I know if they like it is if I hear them in their room singing it. Then I'm like, okay, then that's a song. Like Carefree, they were singing. They heard that for like a year before it was released. So when I released it, it wasn't like even cool to them. They were like, we've heard this so many times. Like, but no, it's the best. Like I love it. It's the best. And the family, they're so supportive. I've got the best of both worlds.
And then, you've also got backup singers and dancers if you need down the track.
They always ask me if they can come on tour.
Oh.
And I'm like, no, darling, you got to stay in school. But yeah, no, it is. It's the best. It's so much fun.
So speaking of tours, have you got any upcoming shows?
I do. I'm doing the Cowra Music Festival in October, which will be so much fun. And, applying for things like Star Maker, which would be an absolute dream if I could get that. But yeah, just Cowra right now and slowly talk in the talks about doing some other upcoming stuff in the next.
Well, that is very exciting. We mentioned you've been overseas. Did you get to work with anybody in particular you were excited to work with?
Yeah, I worked with a producer. His name's Tommy Brown. And he produces like Ariana Grande. He was at the time the number one producer doing so many people's stuff. So I was working with him and another company called Dream Lab, who had done like Selena Gomez, Miley Cyrus. And Miley Cyrus was a really big one for me that I was like obsessed with because I wanted to be Hannah Montana. So I worked and like I wrote with people that were working with like Justin Timberlake, like stuff like that. Like it was crazy the people I was writing with and the names they would be like, oh yeah, I know this person. So when I went back to LA like last week, Tommy was there again and I was like, so what are you up to right now? And he's like, I'm doing all the K-pop stuff. And he's like, he now like owns and works, like has like 20 producers under him.
Wow.
So yeah, so I was like, well, that's really cool. And so hopefully I'm going to try and go back in October and get some writing sessions down with them and yeah, be their first country write, which would be really cool because he's really keen. So it'd be really fun.
Well, that's the exciting thing about music these days is there's so much crossovers between genres these days, which just creates more of a creative pool, doesn't it?
Very much so. We were in Arizona for a week and we were going into sessions with people that were massive hip hop R&B and their main focus was that. And I'm like, I don't know if they're going to be able to pull any country beats. Like, I'm not like 100%. No, the songs that we were coming out with were incredible. Like I was in shock and they were in shock too that they were doing it, that I was doing it. It was like this like mix of the two worlds. And I think it's like so cool that like, everyone's starting to like integrate. I think people are starting to realize like, oh, if we work together, something really cool can happen here. So,
Well, obviously cool things are happening because you said your partner's a producer too.
yes.
So
Yeah.
how does that all work in the scheme of things?
It's a blessing and a curse because it'd be like we just moved back to my parents' property. We have a house down the back. And in the time we were like, we need a studio. So we built a studio and I was like, oh, like it'll be like 11 o'clock at night and I'll just get this like song in my head and I'm like, oh no. And he'll be asleep and I'm like, tap. And I'm like, hi, I have this song idea and it's not going to go away. And I feel like it's a really good song. And that's kind of how we did Carefree. It just happened. Like we were at the dinner table with his family and I was like, I gotta get away. And then like we literally I was like, I have this idea, like it'll take me like half an hour just quickly. And then we ran down to the studio and Carefree was born within like literally an hour. I think I wrote it in. And yeah, it's funny because he'll be like, come on, well, let's go write a song today. And I'm like, I have no inspiration. I can't think of anything. And then there'll be other times where I'm like, I have this really cool song. And he's like, I can't today. I've got this song to do. But no, it's helpful. It's so good. And I love it because I can be 100% honest and open. I can be like probably too bad. Like sometimes I'm like, no, that sounds terrible. Because he's an artist as well. So yeah, so he's a singer as well. So sometimes like we'll show each other our stuff. And because we have that close relationship, he'll straight out be like, no, that's terrible. Cool. Thanks so much for that.
So any chance of a collaboration vocally on the album then?
Yeah, I'm really like we both want to on his tracks as well. I do all his BBs, which is so cool because it's like, yay. But no, I'm hoping and our teams are kind of working together to figure out what we can do. But I know if we did do something, it'd be really awesome. Like it would be really cool.
Well, you were talking about some of the places that you're inspired by lyrics. Where's the strangest place you have been inspired with lyrics?
I think the other day we were driving through In-N-Out And I just saw a whole bunch of like, I saw these people working, and I just had this idea of like, you know, you never really know what one person does in a day. Like they could be working and then going home in the afternoon, and they could be, you know, working on their music career, or they could be doing something. So I just had this whole idea, and I haven't gotten to write about it yet, but I keep everything in my notes on my phone. You should see it. It's like pages long. And I was just writing on like, you know, this idea of like all these people living their own lives, but like we don't get a glimpse into it. Like, yeah, probably In and Out. That's probably one that I'm like, how? What do you get from an In and Out? I'm just trying to get a burger.
Well, I mean, I guess that adds to the lyrics within itself, In and Out.
Yeah, well, I didn't even think of that. Look at that.
I look forward to my writing credits on the next single then.
Yes, yes. If you hear the words In and Out, I'll be sure to hit you up and be like, here's your credits.
So when you're not singing, writing, producing, going overseas, what do you do in your spare time?
I don't have a whole lot of spare time. I don't like having spare time because I'm very go, go, go. I can't really stop. But I ride my horse. That's the one thing that I do to calm myself down and like kind of bring myself and be centered again. I take my horse out for a ride. Or I have other horses on this property that aren't rideable. So sometimes I just sit with them. They're kind of like, they help my mental health type of thing. They're like spirit animals. They're just good for your mental health. They just cuddle you. So,
and they're pretty much part of the family too, aren't they?
yeah, literally. They broke down my fence the other day, and I opened up my blind, and he was just standing there staring at me. I'm like, cool, all right, got to go fix that fence now. So yeah.
So you're obviously a woman of many talents. What is a talent that we're yet to find out? Do you have any good party
Not really, because I don't party. I love cooking. I'm a good cook. Very good
What?
cooking, actually.
So if I was to rock up to your house, what would you cook me?
I make a really good homemade gnocchi. Gnocchi. I make a very good one. It's like crumbed, and it's kind of like almost fried, but it's not fried. Making me hungry. I might make gnocchi, or I might make you salmon. Really, really like salmon.
I'll stick to the gnocchi, I reckon.
Yeah, my mouth is watering. I'm yet to have my breakfast. I've been working all morning. I did nannying this morning and then came home. The next couple of hours will be studio work and then head back to nannying.
Well, I'm not going to keep you from that. Thank you so much for having a chat with me today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
And I look forward to seeing what you release next.
Thank you. Yes. Coming soon. Really soon.
Watch this space.
Yes. Watch.
Speaking of spaces, if people want to find out more about Brittany Mags, where do they go?
You can find me on any socials. It's Brittany Mag. So it's BritTanyMaggs. I know it's long, but yeah. And you can literally find me on any socials. I'm on every streaming platform, and I'm on YouTube. YouTube's probably my biggest streaming platform right now. And yeah.
Well, thank you again for the chat.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Follow Level On Up Podcast on Instagram.